Hi guys, my name is Sanaya
and my name is Agastya,
and today we will start a new series on stories of Vikram and Betal.
Vikram and Betal, who are they? Are they real? Are these stories from India?
Yes, Agastya, these stories are from India, but we are not sure if they are real or just a mythology. It is a collection of stories of a king named Vikram and a ghost, Betal. Originally, the stories were written in Sanskrit. The tales constitute a series of stories intended to impart moral lessons to readers or listeners.
Really? A ghost telling a story to a king? I want to know more about them.
Sure! Before starting the actual story, let me tell you a brief story of Vikram and Betal.
Woohoo!
Let's start. Vikramaditya was a very noble, intelligent, and wise king. Everyone living in his kingdom were happy and content. One day, a prominent sage visited him and gifted a precious gem without any explanation. This repeated for a few more times. Eventually, Vikram couldn't hold it in anymore. He asked, "O sage, why are you gifting me these valuable gems for no price?" The sage replied, "O king, you obviously know that nothing in this world is for free. Me giving you rare gems has a reason, and that reason is, I need you to bring Betal, a ghost, to me to perform a sacrificial ritual." To complete his promise, Vikram set out to the crematorium. The crematory was a desolate place filled with grief and death. Basically, it was scary.
Oh dear!
But Vikram wasn't scared, not one bit. Vikram reached out to Betal, who was like a bat hanging upside down, captured him and carried him on his shoulder. Betal asks Vikram, "Why are you taking me? You don't even know if that sage is a good person or not." Vikram thought, "The Betal is right. Why should I carry him to the sage?" He was confused, but he didn't plan on breaking a promise. Not today. On the way back, Betal says, "O king, I know you are a very determined man. I am sure now you will definitely hand me over to my enemy. Yet, the journey is a long one and the destination is far. Let me tell you a story to make your journey easier. But I have conditions." "What are those?" the king inquired. "First, throughout the story, you have to maintain silence. If you break the silence, I shall be free and shall leave you immediately. Second, at the end of the story, I will ask you a question. If you know the answer to the question and still do not clear my doubts, then your head shall break into 100 pieces.
Really?
Yes, really. And lastly, if you are not aware of what the answer is, then we'll stay on the course and I will narrate a new story. If you agree to me, only then I will begin my story." On getting an assurance from the king, the Betal thus began his story.
Oh, those are really interesting conditions.
Yes, but in the end of every story, Betal used to trigger the king with an intellectual, conflicting question which the king used to clarify with his wisdom, and thus Betal used to relieve himself.
So, was the king ever been successful to hand over Betal to that sage?
We are not really sure about that. All we know is the wonderful stories told by Betal and smart answers given by King Vikram.
Let's start with the story then.
Of course! Today we will be doing a story from a book, Vikram and Betal, a collection of moral stories, written by Bharat Negi.
Oh, okay. But what is the name of the story?
The story's name is Efficient Trader. And now, the story will begin, so make sure you listen close.
Okay.
Long ago lived a trader named Rantnagupt in the city of Negi. He was one of the noted businessmen of the city who earned a great deal of money. Now that he was on the threshold of old age, rather than resting, he decided to begin another trade which would enhance his profits and make him wealthier. He therefore decided to invest in the business through the sea route. Rantnagupt took his cargo of perfumeries and traveled through the sea route to reach the eastern islands. He sold his stock at a much higher rate and then made enormous profit. Rantnagupt could never think of sitting down to rest when he could foresee his mound of money growing. He therefore decided to carry on this trade with double energy and vigor. It is said that a man's thirst for money can never be quenched. As Rantnagupt's wealth increased, so did his desire for acquiring more. He was unable to sleep peacefully at night. As soon as his eyes closed, he would dream of property and riches. His greed for wealth had made him crazy. On one occasion, Rantnagupt loaded his sea vessels with perfumeries and began his voyage. After several days, he reached the capital city of the eastern islands and accommodated himself in an inn. However, he could not sleep during the night. He was perturbed about how he should present his goods to his customers and in what way he should deal with them so as to have the maximum benefit. The next day, when Rantnagupt started selling his goods, he was able to trade majority of his stock by evening at extremely good prices. That day, after dinner, he took his ledger and book of accounts and sat on a platform outside the inn to calculate his profits. However, even after repeated calculations, he was unable to match the cash balance with the goods sold. So engrossed was he in his calculations that he did not know when it was past midnight. He could not think of going to bed until the cash was balanced. The main cause for his anxiety was that even though Rantnagupt was an efficient trader, he was extremely poor at mathematical calculations. It always took a great amount of time for him to calculate his profit and losses. On the other end of the same platform, just a few yards away from Rantnagupt, there was a young man lying and trying to sleep. He was disturbed due to his own worries. Unable to sleep, he was turning sides and could sense Rantnagupt's uneasiness. He was filled with curiosity towards the stranger who was so deeply engrossed in calculations. He therefore stood up and approached Rantnagupt and said, "Sir, my name is Sudarshan. You seem to be worried about some calculations. Can I help you in some way?" Rantnagupt raised his head and looked up at Sudarshan. "Son, I am a businessman. I have spent the entire day selling my goods in this city. Now I am unable to balance my cash and accounts. This is the main cause of my worry." Hearing this, the young man said, "Sir, if you permit me, I can try to solve your problem." He further added, "Mathematics have always been my favorite subject. I have studied this subject with great interest right from childhood. Calculating the sale of your goods and balancing your cash would be a simple job for me." Saying this, he took the papers from the merchant's hands and solved the problem within a few minutes. Rantnagupt was amazed at the young man's competence. He thought, "What a strange thing! I have been trying to solve this issue for so long, and it has taken this boy only a few moments to find the solution." He was correct when he said that mathematics was his favorite subject. This is the only reason why he could accomplish the work in moments which I could not accomplish in hours. In his heart, he praised Sudarshan for his intellect. Rantnagupt then expressed his gratitude towards the young man and asked for his introduction and background. Sudarshan replied, "Sir, I have already told my name to you earlier. Some years ago, I had come to these islands with my father from the city of Negi for the purpose of business. I have been living here ever since. My father lost all his money and property in business and did not feel like returning to his native place again. He lost his life worrying about his debts and business. After a few days, I lost my mother too. I have come now to the capital of these islands with hope of obtaining a service at the king's court. After listening to Sudarshan's background, Rantnagupt thought for a while and then said, "Listen, son, service is not the only alternate to earn a living. There are other means as well as which can be considered. If you are interested in business, you can return to your motherland with me and help me in my business."
Is Rantnagupt doing a right thing by trusting Sudarshan cause he just met him?
For that, you will have to hear the story till the end.
You're right. Let's continue.
Sudarshan happily gave his consent. Rantnagupt took Sudarshan along and returned to his country after selling off the remainder of his stock. Sudarshan turned out to be an extremely competent and hard-working man. On the basis of his performance and pleasant behavior, he soon won the love and trust of Rantnagupt. After some days, Rantnagupt decided to revisit the islands to conduct another round of business. Just a few days before the voyage, he fell ill. He therefore called Sudarshan and said, "Son, you shall have to go alone to the islands this time. We have goods worth rupees 10 lakhs. It would certainly fetch 15 lakh rupees in the islands. After deducting the expenses for traveling, etc., we should be able to make a profit of approximately rupees 4 lakhs. Please leave for the voyage so that you can reach there in time for the business." Following the merchant's instructions, Sudarshan loaded the ships with cargo and left for the eastern islands. On reaching there, he selected the same inn for accommodation which Rantnagupt had on the previous occasion. There, he also met some of the other merchants who had come from distant countries to sell their wares. After conversation with these people, Sudarshan came to know that currently there is a high demand for perfumeries in these islands. But this demand is expected to go up further in the coming month, raising the price of these goods considerably. Therefore, if we sold his commodities in the following month, he would make twice the profit expected to make this month. This was a decision which required great courage and speculation. Prices could also fall down in the next month. Thus, after some thought, Sudarshan said to the businessman, "I wish to sell my goods in this month itself so that I can return to my homeland as soon as possible." Soon, Sudarshan sold all the goods and returned home. After listening to Sudarshan's experience, Rantnagupt offered him 1/4 of his earnings. After some days, Sudarshan decided to go on a business visit to the islands again. When Rantnagupt came to know of his plans, he was extremely happy. He said, "Son, it is inappropriate for a businessman to stay idle. You should definitely go ahead. This time, you shall be a 50% partner in the profits." Sudarshan again loaded the vessels with his wares and left for his destination. This time also, he stayed in the same inn where he again met the merchants from different countries. He thought, "The prices of our goods are expected to go up in a few days. Hence, I will wait for a few days before I finally sell my wares." As Sudarshan had speculated, he was able to sell his perfumeries at a higher rate and he made a 2-fold profit. Even then, he did not return immediately. Rather, he stayed there for a few more days and bought a few objects made of ivory. He returned to Rantnagupt with these articles. He showed these articles to those who had a deep interest in home decoration and sold them at a higher rate. In this way, he made some additional profit. Rantnagupt was extremely pleased with Sudarshan's business acumen. One day, on finding an appropriate opportunity, Rantnagupt called Sudarshan and said, "Son, I have been thinking of talking to you quite some time. I am highly impressed with your skills and behavior. I wish to make you my son-in-law. Do you approve of the offer?" Sudarshan agreed. Rantnagupt married his daughter to Sudarshan with great pomp and show. After narrating this story, Betal asked King Vikramaditya, "Rajan, this youth named Sudarshan seems to be an extremely selfish person to me. When he was working under Rantnagupt and he went to the islands for trade, despite of being told by the other merchants that the prices of his goods might rise and that he should wait before selling his wares, he did not stay. However, the next time when Rantnagupt made him a partner in his business, he stayed back on the islands for a long time at the mere speculation that the price of his goods might rise. Not only this, he even bought a few ivory objects from that country at a cheap rate to be sold in Kanyakumj at a high price so that he could make a bigger profit. He was cautious the first time because he had used his intellect. His master would have made a greater profit. But as soon as he came to know that he is a partner in business, he used his business skills to make the business flourish. How is it possible that Rantnagupt, who is such an experienced person, could not judge the true selfish nature of Sudarshan? Instead, he praised him for what he had done. Was Rantnagupt so naive that he could not analyze Sudarshan? If you know the answer to this question and still do not clear my doubt, then your head shall break into 100 pieces." King Vikram replied, "Betal, there is no base for saying that Sudarshan was a selfish person. When he went for business for the first time, then he was only a servant and he was duty bound to obey his master's instructions. He did not have any right to take his own decisions. But the second time, he was a partner in business and therefore he agreed to risk the profit or loss for the business. This time, he was not only accountable to anyone. On his return journey, he thought of the other trade so that he could display his talent and business acumen. In this way, he has made an optimal use of his intellect to prove his responsibility and sincerity as a servant. He got an opportunity to display his decision-making skills and his competence as an owner of a business. Hence, the suspicion that you have in your mind is completely baseless."
Oh yes, even my doubt is cleared about Sudarshan.
After listening to Vikram's reply, Betal said, "You are absolutely right. I had asked you this question to test your intelligence. But while answering my question, you forgot your promise. I had told you earlier that you would have to maintain silence while I narrate the story. You have broken the silence, and hence I am free now. I am leaving. Do not try to catch me again." Saying this, Betal got down from the king's shoulder and disappeared into the darkness and returned to his tree. King Vikramaditya was left standing behind, gaping. The end.
What a wonderful story. King Vikram is very smart.
But I also like the way Betal tricked him.
Blue, I would love to listen more Vikram and Betal stories.
Don't worry. For more wonderful stories like this, we will see you in our next video. Bye!